The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, before we get into the video, let me just say Happy New Year to everybody out here. This is the first video I'm shooting in 2021, so hope you guys had a safe and blessed New Year's. I wanted to just give my thoughts on what was an amazing way to close out the calendar year for boxing in 2020. You had Kazuto Ioka, Japan's first ever four-division world champion, taking on Kosei Tanaka, three-division champion in his own right, the fastest world champion in history of Japanese boxing, the man who won a world title in multiple weight classes as fast as Lomachenko did, a special fighter for being at such a young age of 25 years old. For me, it was a marquee matchup. For most of the public out there that aren't familiar with the smaller weight classes, it may have not been a marquee matchup, but for people that are in the know, that know about the sweet science of boxing, it was a marquee matchup. Now, fight was very interesting. I thought Kosei Tanaka, he came out guns blazing, throwing lots of punches, particularly in the third and fourth round. He had really good rounds. The third and fourth rounds, he had really good rounds. He was showing why he's one of the best offensive fighters in the sport. He's showing you why, he's one of the most gifted and talented fighters in the sport. And he landed some eye-catching shots, especially in those rounds. But I remember one thing I really admire about Ioka, and I gotta really be honest. Ioka, I've underrated him for a long time. I mean, obviously, I know about his fights with Donnie Nietes and guys like that. I think he fought Juan Carlos Rebeco as well. I know about those fights. I've watched them fight a couple of times. But I think I've overlooked them, and that just goes to show you how deep and how talented the super flyweight division is, because you got so many great fighters at super flyweight. You have Rome, obviously, leading the way, of course, the real TBE. Roma Chalatito Gonzalez. You got Gaia Estrada. You got Quadras, Rongvisai, Jerwin and Cajas. Tanaka just moved up. You got Ioka, who's been there. You got Julio Cesar Martinez, who's probably going to move up in another year or so. There's so much top level talent at 115 that sometimes, especially if a guy isn't like in the media as much and he doesn't talk and he's not doing a lot of interviews or anything like that, you don't really think about Ioka as much as you should. But in this fight, this is the fight to me. This is his moment. This fight right here, right now, was his moment. It was his signature fight because he took a fighter in Tanaka who is, like I said, one of the most offensively gifted fighters in the sport. We're talking about combinations from different angles, great footwork. He's got inconsistent head movement, but he's got head movement when he remembers to use his head movement. And he's not an easy guy to be in there and be composed against. And there was one time, I think it was the second round, where Tanaka literally threw a six-punch combination. He threw a six-punch combination, and when you watch it the first time, Ioka, it looks like Ioka's getting blitzed and he's getting hit and all this stuff. But then you watch the replay and you see that like five of those punches all fall short, or he's blocking them, and then the last one barely grazes him. So one thing I constantly see when I watch Ioka is that he's one of those fighters that if you can really pick up on, if your eyes are trained to pick up on the subtleties of boxing, he is like damn near the king of the subtleties in boxing, because at first glance, if you don't know what you're watching, he's just gonna look like a whatever fighter or just a solid fighter. But he's so much more than that. The way he blocks punches within that high guard, the way he's able to just win the battle of inches, making the opponent's punches fall short by a matter of inches. It's something masterful to watch. And then seeing the counter left hooks that he was hitting Tanaka with. I mean, there was before the knockout in the eighth, before he stopped him in the eighth. I mean, he hit Tanaka with some serious grown man punches. I mean, we talk about grown man punches here on True School Sports. He had my man Tanaka doing cartwheels backwards. So, you got to give Ioka a lot of credit, man, for the performance that he put on. And I can't believe I'm saying this, man, but like, Tanaka's a damn good fighter. We knew about his leaky defense. He's shown leaky defense in the past in the Sho Kimura fights and other fights he's had. It's not a secret that his defense wasn't the best. And it got exposed in this fight. He lost this fight because of hand positioning. Ioka took Tanaka's hand positioning and he used it against him and he exploited it. And that's what the great fighters do. That's what the margins are at that world class level. It's just those small little subtleties. And Ioka exploited it. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but Ioka has come out of nowhere. He's come out of nowhere. And for me, he's got to be 2025 of the year. I know people are going to say Teofimo Lopez beat Lomachenko, but listen, Lomachenko to me is a great fighter, but he had already lost in his career to Salido. And on top of that, Lomachenko didn't, like, in the fights leading up to the Lopez fight, he wasn't looking like the Lomachenko that we saw at 130 and 126. Tanaka was a guy that, I mean, you look at his career, you know, he had never fought a guy with a losing record. He was looking sensational in pretty much almost every outing he had. And he didn't know how to lose. And Ioka on that night, on New Year's Eve 2020, Ioka had to teach Tanaka how to lose. And he had to really go on there and show and turn in a signature performance, and he did it. Like this fight was one of those fights where it demanded a signature type of performance for him to get the victory, and he turned it in under those kind of circumstances. Japan versus Japan in Japan for the world title. That's a lot of pressure that he's going in there with. So for my money, for me, on True School Sports, Kazuto Ioka has one fighter of the year. I mean, he stole it from Teofimo Lopez at the last minute. He stole it from him because, you know, just on paper, we look at what is Tanaka. Tanaka is a guy that's 3-division champion, the fastest Japanese champion in history of the sport, which is saying a lot because Japan has had a lot of great fighters over the years. They're one of the most rich traditions of boxing history there is. So you look at Tanaka, fastest champion in Japanese history, 3-division champion at the age of 24, shooting for his 4th division title at the age of 25. I mean, special talent, special fighter. I think he's got to get away from his father. I believe that he said that before this fight, it was going to be his last fight with his dad as his trainer. And I think it's that he has to, because if he's going to win at 115, if he's going to become a 4-division champion and become a great champion in boxing's best weight class, he's got to really tighten up that defense. But I think he will. I think he will become world champion at some point. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Joan Cajas or someone like that. You know, I still think he's going to be a great fighter, but make no mistakes about it. It was Ioka's night. The patience, the timing, the composure, the just overall complete performance that he turned in. It deserves its credit, and we give him his just due flowers here on True School Sports. So shout out to Kazuto Ioka, a fighter that, I'll be honest with you, I've known about him. I've watched his fights. I've watched plenty of his fights, but I've overlooked him because of how stacked 115 is, and the fact that he's not really fought in America, so he's not in the media as much. But I watched this fight with much intrigue, and he really impressed me. So leave your comments down below. What did you make of Kazuto Ioka just beating the brakes off Kosei Tanaka? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. It's 2021, and like we've been saying for many years here on True School Sports, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.